The best thing for Florida football is to fire head coach Billy Napier.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever it's in the podcast and on YouTube. Unhappy Monday. I am Brandon Olsen. Find my written work with swampsignal.substack.com, which we wrote about last week with Billy Napier, maybe the writing being on the wall. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. I don't know. Look, I will be completely honest. I hate doing this. Just there's no other way to put it. I hate doing this, but I do think that the best thing for Florida Gators football is to fire Billy Napier. I don't think it'll happen like right now. I think they'll give him at least until the Miami game, which is this coming week, and then you've got a bye week, so it would give you more time to really settle in and fix that. But yeah, I think that it's the best thing for Florida Gators football right now. I just don't see a way in which you salvage it right now. Mostly because of the things we've been talking about, right? Like last year, I went on the show after I believe it was the Texas A&M game, and I said that it was time to fire Billy Napier for one simple reason. I think you can win a national championship at the University of Florida. I think once you realize that you have a coach that isn't going to win you a national championship at the University of Florida, then you cut bait. And last year for me, I said, I think year three, I don't think year three is enough time to know if that guy's going to win you a national championship, but I do think year three is enough time to know that guy's not going to win you a national championship. And so after the Texas A&M loss last year, I was pretty firmly in the fire Billy Napier camp, I guess. And I hate doing it. I really do. Because like, I get it, right? Like being a college football fan, you want your team to be great. You want your team to succeed. You have these expectations. And at the University of Florida, whether like I know there's people that go, oh yeah, you know, for 60 years, this team wasn't great. And then for the past, 35, 40, they've had these great moments, and people like now all of a sudden the expectations to win. Yeah, it's Florida. You don't lower your expectations because because history before I was born says that? No, for my life, I know Florida as a winning program. I don't know Florida as a losing program. Like I can't speak for you. I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know Florida as a losing program. I know Florida as a program that wins and competes and has opportunities to go win national championships. I can't do the whole like, oh, well, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. I can't do it. I think that the best thing for Florida football is to fire Billy Napier. I don't think he's capable of winning a national championship. And we spoke about this the Tuesday show with Brooks Austin, where Brooks said, you know, like, I don't think Billy Napier is a bad coach. I just think he's got too much on his plate, and he's had too much on his plate for 3 years. And my rebuttal to that was, if you've had too much on your plate for 3 years and you haven't properly addressed that, isn't that kind of the sign of being a bad coach? And so I think that that's one of the biggest indicators. And a lot of that comes down to just simply his unwillingness to give up play calling duties when the rest of the team is just unorganized and inconsistent, and he can't get his guys to show up week in and week out and be ready to compete. And he can't get his guys to show up week in and week out and be ready to play high level Florida Gators football. Like, this is still a talented roster. I'm not budging off of that. I'm really not, because I just watched a team where our starting quarterback threw 5 interceptions. One of them was a pick 6, and your defense gave up 13 points. LSU scored 20 points. 7 of them came on a pick 6, and your defense allowed 13 points. I'm sorry. I can't look at that and go, oh, yeah, this isn't a good team. I watched Aiden Mizell make some great plays. I watched VB3 make some great plays. I watched the tight ends play maybe the best overall game we've seen from the tight ends. Really, like just with Hayden and Tony, I thought they both played pretty well. I don't think either of them were really liabilities at any point, but play calling, decision making, just wasn't there for it. I don't know why he's not fully buying into let's run the football with Jaden Baugh. I do like, getting the ball out, but there's so much on his plate, and overall organizationally, it's just not working out. And so I'm not going to do the whole bashing him thing as like a person. I don't believe in that. I know there's people that are going to do that. I know there's people that are going to do the whole like the U-Haul thing and the moving signs thing or the for sale signs thing. I know that. I get that. I can't do that. That's just not like that. That's still a person, right? And so I'm not going to do that. But I am going to say that it's just time. I don't know when it happens, but it feels inevitable at this point, right? Like last year, I still stand firm that I still believe at the time that I was calling for his job last year, he should have been fired. And you can go back to, the Texas game, I want to say it was after the Texas game. And I said, hey, you win out and get a top 10 class and I'll stop calling for your job. But if your team doesn't perform up to par next year, so 2025, I'm going to call for your job again. And it's really as simple as that. Like I'm not insulting him. I'm not bashing him. I'm not doing the thing where people are like, oh yeah, he's completely incompetent. He's that. Like you may feel that way. I'm not going to do it. I think that it's because I don't think you need to, right? Again, my bar is if that coach isn't going to win you a national championship at the University of Florida, then it's time to move on. Like once you know that, it's time to move on. And so that was my take last year. I said, if you win out, you get a top 10 class. I'll stop saying that, but I'll be willing to go back to it. I know there were a ton of people in the comments section. They're like, you owe Billy an apology. No, I don't. Never did. Never did apologize either. Because it was always, for me, coaching needs to catch up to the talent. And we're still at a point where I don't believe coaching, or I know coaching hasn't caught up to the talent. This is still a talented roster. It is. Like the fact that you can go out there and we can all point out so many coaching miscues and they're still in these games. DJ Lagway threw 5 picks and they still had a very real chance to win this game. Like, do you know how insane that is? I feel like that's an overall testament to having an overall good roster, but your coaching's failing and your quarterback is failing. And yeah, sure, maybe coaching is failing the quarterback as well. Maybe the quarterback's failing the coaching as well. The fact is that the two most important spots, coach, quarterback, are the spots that are failing on this in this program right now. And so I think it's time that Florida moves on from Billy Napier. And again, maybe you wait till whatever game you get into it. I don't know what the reasoning would be of, we got to find a replacement interim. We got to figure out, we got to give ourselves the most time possible to try to retain some of this talent on the roster. I don't know what the actual timeline is, but I will say that I think it's glaringly obvious it's time to move on. As much as I hate, again, I know that as football fans, like we want to say that, and like I know as football fans, like we want to be harsh and brutal about that, but like that's not in my nature to be brutal about it. I'm just going to be completely honest with it and say that I hate saying it, but I want my team to win, and I don't think you're the guy to get it done, and so it's time to move on. I don't think you need to say more, right? Like last year, people were throwing fits, people were going crazy, and the administration didn't care. The administration doesn't care how mad you are. The administration's full of spineless losers. They don't care about how mad you are. I'll call them spineless losers because I think they're just being completely selfish. Like at least with Napier, I'm like, look, I think he's trying. I just don't think he's good enough. But with administration, I think that they're just being completely selfish. I think that they're lining their own pockets, and that's all they care about. And so I don't feel bad for you. Like I'll say that to your face. I don't care about that part. But I do think, and as far as firing, I said that to Napier's face. I've said it before. Like we had a conversation about it in Mobile. at the Senior Bowl. It's not, and Billy knows, like this isn't an insane revelation. Like Billy knows how it feels, how we feel. Billy knows that stuff. It's just brutal. But one of the biggest things that ended up being a dagger for Billy Napier was quarterback DJ Lagway, and we'll talk about that when we get back with Locked On Gators. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they're. Legitimately like that big, like nothing. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost when you need to put it right in your pocket if you want to. Can't do that with a big can. You can't put it in your pocket like that unless you want to look like a clown. Then sure, go ahead. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine, right? It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites that you love, or be bold and try something new. Grape, just saying. Try something new in-store or online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. We're gonna keep talking about Billy Napier here, which I hate doing. Like I hate doing it in week 3, right? I was hoping that we would at least get a bit of time of competitive football, especially starting 2-0 would have been the plan, would have been the expectation. But that's clearly not how it's going. That's not how it's working. And that sucks. There's no other way to say that one. But to acknowledge that's the reality of the situation. That's the reality of that's our reality as Florida Gators fans, right? But last year, when I was calling for Billy Napier's job, there were a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people. And also, like, it wasn't just to me. I saw it on social media. I see these things where, yes, there were a bunch of them in my comments, but also it was a common argument on Twitter of you don't fire Billy Napier because then you might lose DJ Lagway. Or even for the people that went, oh, well, if you fire Billy Napier, then you definitely lose DJ Lagway. Poof. A couple things there, right? One, I don't know how true that is, right? I do think that it would have depended on who you hired to replace Billy Napier. I think that would have been an important part. 2, I don't think that you keep a coach to prevent losing a player. Because I mean, just by that, like by that logic, it just doesn't make sense, because if the coach is failing with that player, I just, like, it doesn't make sense to me, because if the coach is failing with that player, then he's failing as it is. So to say, oh, you don't fire this coach because then you lose this player, is like, well, if that player was such a needle mover, the coach wouldn't be at risk. Like, you could argue that last year, DJ Lagway did play a factor in Billy Napier keeping his job. That's absolutely possible. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that I don't think that thought process works. And if that did play a part in it, I think you're seeing that play out right now, because, and also I will say this, last year, I think a lot of people got frustrated with me at times. I know a lot of people got frustrated with me at times because I was getting the comments, I was getting the tweets. I see it of when I said that, DJ Lagway is playing great for a freshman, but he's not playing great overall. He's not playing sustainable football. I remember saying that going into the LSU game, going into the Ole Miss game, going into every game toward the end of the season, was that this team's not playing sustainable football. While that gives them a chance to win every game, that also gives them a chance to lose every game. Like, because all DJ Lagway had last year was the deep ball. That's it. All the offense had with DJ Lagway on the field was the deep ball and the run game. There was no underneath passing game. There was no underneath passing approach. It was DJ Lagway needs to connect on the deep ball, or we don't have a passing game. And even with DJ Lagway not being a full participant in practice throughout the spring and throughout the summer, there were still opportunities to grow there, right? Because you can still just hammer the film from last year, and you can point out, hey, you had these receivers open underneath. You had this running back available in the flats. You had these things there. You gotta take it, and he just didn't. And you can go back and you can hammer that. And then when he's getting ready to get on the field, you can remind him constantly. You can say, hey, like, you've got these options. You do. Take them. They're available. And like we kind of saw him start to do that a tiny, tiny bit against LSU, but not enough to say that he's building a habit or that he's doing it intentionally. Because I could easily watch that LSU game, and as it goes on and as his confidence clearly starts to crumble, you can watch him then go, all right, I'm gonna throw it to Hayden in the flat 3 times in a row, or however many times it was. I'm going to scramble and chuck it to the running back short underneath. And then late in the game, when he threw that 5th pick, was him just folding. That's all it was. It was just him panicking, going crazy, and then just heaving it. And it ended up getting picked there. So it was just, it was bad, right? Like we just watched DJ Lagway, who had the most hype at quarterback at Florida since Tim Tebow, play his 2 worst games he's ever played back to back, and the development wasn't there. And that was a big thing that we were expecting to see, at least a bit of, like, I thought that you'd see the timing miscues. I thought that you would see the mismanaging of the pocket. I thought that you would see things like that. I thought that you would see some decision-making issues as well. I didn't think you'd see as much blindness, I'll say, of just not recognizing where things should be. Actually going out and executing them, sure, different thing, but just not recognizing where they should be was a massive flaw for DJ Lagway. I will say this also, I still don't think you bench him. That's still not my take. I think that if you feel like DJ Lagway is salvageable, which I do still believe he's salvageable, you don't bench him. He's clearly a quarterback that we've been talking about this. Like, he needs reps if he's ever going to get better. And so by benching him, you're taking away those reps. He's not going to get better on the bench. He's clearly a quarterback that on Saturday night was really struggling with confidence issues late in the game. And that was clear. That was evident. Every time you saw him on the sideline, he looked like he was reading an iPad in Chinese. Like, it was crazy. And so he's clearly a quarterback that's struggling with confidence. He's clearly a quarterback that's struggling with those things that if you bench him, you're just going to hurt his confidence even more, which, by the way, was the thing that when we were talking about going into the 2024 season, people that were calling for DJ Lagway to start right away, I was saying that, this isn't a video game. You can't just start a guy right away and think he's going to work out. That's not how it works. Confidence matters. Development matters. It's not as simple as, oh, well, if he's playing, he's going to be out there and he's going to be good and he's going to get better every single time. That's not how football works. Right now, the Florida Gators have a Billy Napier problem and they have a DJ Lagway problem. And yeah, I hated the argument last year of you don't fire Billy because then you might lose Lagway, because it's also like, we have no idea. There was no guarantee that DJ Lagway would improve at the rate that people expect. And he hasn't developed in that way. We'll talk more about his game tomorrow. It's incredibly frustrating. I'll tell you that much. You could watch it once, twice, 40 times. Incredibly frustrating. But we are going to talk about another thing that I think really hurt Billy Napier during his Florida tenure and the coaching staff when we get back with Locked On Gators. This episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. Just saying, Florida, Miami this weekend, money-making opportunities. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right, and it's good to make money. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You want to bet touchdowns? You want to bet a team to win? I know that, I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there for that first $5 bet that if it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. Maybe throw it on a heavy favorite. Just saying. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thanks again for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free, whether it's in the podcast and on YouTube. And one of the things that I think Billy Napier got wrong with his tenure at Florida was the coaching staff. I think that, and like, I'm not even talking about, going back to the Patrick Toney days. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about recently, right? Probably the most damning was not hiring a play calling offensive coordinator. He promoted Russ Callaway to co-offensive coordinator prior to the 2024 season. Then he promoted Russ Callaway to offensive coordinator prior to the 2025 season. But both times didn't give play calling duty to Russ Callaway. And so it feels, I know responsibilities open up and you get more of those. But even if you help with the game plan, if you don't try to go out there and execute that game plan, you're not going to get better. And I will give them credit for making some adjustments, right? Like against LSU, we saw them spread the formation out more. And we had this conversation, right? On Saturday night and we spoke about it on, I don't know, sometime during last week, we spoke about it, where people keep complaining about, oh, well, you can't go so condensed. You got to be spread out more. You got to put 4 receivers out there. You got to do this. They spread things out last week or Saturday night against LSU. And you know what happened? They still just blitzed the hell out of you. I said this on Friday with Matt Moscona. I said, look, if I'm Blake Baker, LSU's defensive coordinator, I'm blitzing the hell out of DJ Lagway. And I'm going to be as disrespectful as possible until you make me respect you. And Matt laughed, but I was so serious because why not? Like everybody talks about, oh, they're stacking the box. They're stacking the box. They're stacking the box. Make them pay. And then you go out there and you don't make them pay, even when you do throw the ball. Maybe that's why. Like maybe that's why they try to go condensed, to keep tight ends in the pass block, to keep running backs in the pass block more. Like maybe that's why they go condensed, not because they're getting blitzed like crazy. Or that's not why they're getting blitzed like crazy because they're going condensed. They go condensed because they're getting blitzed like crazy. Because they still got blitzed like crazy, and the blitzes were still very effective against them. Like that's one of the things I talk about, where it's like I really think that people just don't understand what they're looking at sometimes. Like you're getting this all twisted. And I think that having a play calling offensive coordinator helps improve that. I think having a play calling offensive coordinator, a guy that's dedicated to developing this game plan, a guy that's dedicated to executing that game plan, I think that really helps you. Like I mentioned the swing screens, they started doing swing screens, but you got to run them to the boundary with this offensive lineman because your guards aren't athletic enough to get out in space consistently. You run it to the boundary where they have less room to run, and then you attack there. I've been very critical throughout this tenure of Rob Sale, offensive line coach, that, and I'm not even talking about recruiting. Like, yes, recruiting wasn't great, but I do believe that recruiting rankings, I'm against them. I think they're too politicized, so I don't really care about going, oh, well, they got a bunch of 3 stars. They're getting guys like Billy Napier has mentioned before. Like, we're looking for NFL draft picks. We're looking for guys that have the height, weight, the arm length, the footwork, like they have these things, and we just have to refine them. And I'm fine with that approach, really. I don't care about the ranking. But it's now year 4 with Rob Sale as the offensive line coach all 4 years. And the thing that should be great, honestly, they're not doing anything really great, right? Like, I think that they aren't losing reps in pass pro in the sense of, guys aren't really getting beat that much because all the pressure is coming from unblocked players. So I don't know if that's a DJ Lagway problem, a Jake Slaughter problem, or both of them, probably, most likely both of them. But it's not being corrected, and your offensive line isn't adjusting for it. Offensive line getting a ton of penalties, which I can only assume, like, the amount of holding penalties that they've gotten is a technique issue. Run blocking, they're getting no push, which, by the way, crazy for all the people at what was it? Give Tyler Miles the max, and now they're just getting bullied at the point of attack there. Wild. But I was critical of Rob Sale. I think a lot of people have been. I've been very critical of Mike Peterson. I don't think Mike Peterson's a great edge coach at all. I don't think he's a good outside linebackers coach. I really don't. Been saying that for years now. I've been saying that I don't think he's a good outside linebackers coach because who has been developed to make these big plays? What pass rusher has come out and been developed? Like George Gums came in from Northern Illinois and immediately was good. That wasn't development. He was like that. Jaden Woods came in and is making plays as a freshman. That's not development. He was like that. Tyreek Sapp had a great 2024, and so far in 2025 hasn't been. Like, again, this is the edge development. And notice all the guys that have left Florida at the edge spot and been productive elsewhere. And it should make you think, why is that? There's names. I don't need to name the names. I think most people know the names. I think a lot of people get frustrated when I name one of the very specific names that left Florida to go to another SEC school, had a great year, and was an early NFL draft pick, second round NFL draft pick. Yeah. There's a guy that left Florida, went to an ACC school, ended up having, I believe, double-digit sacks. Interesting. That they get better when they leave. And like the ACC one, you could say he went to the ACC, it makes sense. The SEC one went to the SEC. He was still in the SEC, still balled out. It's a coaching problem there. I've been very critical of Billy Gonzalez at receiver. They've brought in recruits, sure, but my main thing has been Billy Gonzalez hasn't really been developing receivers at the rate that he used to. I think when Billy Gonzalez got hired, you can go back to it. I was optimistic there. I was like, look, I think Billy Gonzalez develops NFL receivers. I think he gets the blocking down, the route tree down. Like, he does these things well. And then now we're in 2025, and there's been, one guy that came out of high school that has been an actually helpful receiver for Florida, and that's been VB3. Trey Wilson hasn't done anything as a receiver. He's done things as a gadget player, not as a receiver. Your best receivers throughout Billy Napier's tenure have been portal receivers. Ricky Pearsall, Chim Dike, Elijah Badger. Like one of the things that Billy Napier got wrong was who he hired. And look, I can at least justify some of them, right? Or who he retained. I could at least justify some of them. Like Mike P, I get it. He's a former Gator. He's got the rep in state. Billy Gonzalez was here winning championships. He's got the rep in state. Like, I get things like that. I do. Doesn't mean I agree with them, but I at least understand them. But I'm just saying, like, those are guys that every time I've criticized them, people got so defensive. And it's like, well, their position rooms aren't exactly performing great, are they? Maybe it's a coaching problem throughout. Just saying. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day, every day. We are available daily and free breakfast in the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow to talk more Florida Gators football. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Find all my written work about the Florida Gators on swampsignal.substack.com. There's 3 things that come out every week. Usually 2 of them are free. 1 is paid. Up to you, however you want to go out there, but I appreciate the support. And thank you for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. And I'll see you all next time.